Under the shimmering fireworks of New Year's Eve in Dubai, Khalid Al Maktoum stood alone on the rooftop of his family's estate. Before him was a panoramic view of the world's most modern city, where skyscrapers illuminated the skyline like towering lighthouses, in stark contrast to the quiet unease within him. Laughter and chatter echoed from the extravagant party below, where his family was hosting hundreds of distinguished guests. Yet to Khalid, it was all just distant noise, unable to fill the emptiness inside. Earlier tonight, Khalid had received a stern reminder from his father about his role as the heir to the Al Maktoum Empire. "The new year marks the time for you to take your responsibilities seriously," his father Zayed's voice reverberated in his mind. Responsibility, a word that had loomed over Khalid like a shadow ever since he became aware of the world around him. What troubled Khalid even more was the expectant gaze of his mother, Rania, as she spoke about his arranged marriage to Sophia. "You must understand, happiness isn't just about what you want, it's about what you must do for the family," she said, her hand gripping his shoulder as if to remind him that freedom was something he could never dream of. Khalid glanced down at Sophia, standing among a group of guests. She was smiling, but her eyes betrayed sadness. Khalid knew she didn't want this marriage either. Like him, Sophia was trapped within the boundaries set by their families. In that moment, a daring thought flickered in Khalid's mind. He couldn't continue living as a puppet in a play scripted by others. He needed to find himself, beyond these gilded walls, into a world where he could shape his own destiny. Khalid stepped away from the rooftop and blended into the crowd. But instead of engaging in the party, he approached Sophia and whispered, "Wait for me a few years, Sophia. I'll find a way for us to be free." She simply nodded, her eyes glistening as if she understood his resolve. Welcome to today's story about Khalid Al Maktoum, an Arab millionaire living in Dubai, who embarks on an emotional journey to discover the true meaning of love, family, and legacy. Before we dive into this tale, let us know where in the world you're following the story from. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any of our daily meaningful stories. In the vibrant heart of Dubai, where skyscrapers rise proudly from the sun-scorched desert, the Al Maktoum estate stands as an unmistakable symbol of power and opulence. Golden walls, fountains sparkling like crystals, and gardens bursting with colorful blooms create a magnificent scene anyone would envy. Yet behind those towering gates lies a world built on rigid traditions and heavy expectations, where freedom is nothing more than a distant dream. Within this space, Khalid Al Maktoum, the family's only son, was raised like a precious gem. From his earliest days, Khalid was surrounded by wealth that most people could only imagine in their wildest dreams. Extravagant parties, global travels, and every desire granted instantly. But amid all this prosperity, Khalid could not find the meaning of happiness. Khalid's father, Zayed Al Maktoum, was a powerful and strict man, renowned throughout the Middle East for his business acumen and leadership skills. Zayed dedicated his entire life to building a massive oil empire, turning the Al Maktoum family name into one respected worldwide. To Zayed, Khalid was not just his son, but also the sole heir to the family's legacy. He placed heavy responsibilities on Khalid, expecting him to follow in his footsteps and protect the family's reputation. Although he loved his son, Zayed expressed his affection through pressure and control, forcing Khalid to always prioritize the family over himself. Khalid's mother, Rania Al Maktoum, epitomized the ideal of a traditional upper-class woman. Gentle yet firm, she consistently emphasized that family and tradition were the cornerstones of stability. Rania spent years shaping Khalid into the image of a perfect heir, including arranging a marriage with his cousin, Sophia. To her, Sophia was the ideal choice, intelligent, graceful, and suitable for the family's status. Every word she spoke about Khalid's future seemed like an unchangeable decree. Sophia, Khalid's cousin and arranged fiancée, grew up with him in the family's opulent mansion. A gentle and intelligent young woman, she had been by Khalid's side throughout their childhood. Yet there was never a romantic love between them. Sophia understood Khalid better than anyone, recognizing the yearning for freedom simmering within him. But like Khalid, she too was bound by the family's expectations, unable to voice her opposition. Amid the pressures of tradition, Khalid harbored a different dream. He often sought solace in the family's vast library, where the scent of old paper and the soft light streaming through the windows provided a rare sense of freedom. There, Khaled immersed himself in books about distant lands, oceanic adventures, and explorers searching for the meaning of life. He envisioned himself unbound by gilded walls, a free man discovering the world and living on his own terms. "You are an Al Maktoum," his father often said, his tone like a commandment. "You do not live just for yourself, but for the honor and responsibility of the family." Those words felt like invisible chains binding Khaled to his reality. Yet deep down, he knew that if he didn't break free from those pressures, he would never truly live. And so, Khaled nurtured a bold decision: to leave the Al Maktoum mansion, to leave Dubai in pursuit of freedom, and to write his own story. When Khaled turned 20, he made the decision that would change his life forever. He announced to his family that he wanted to study finance in the United States. This decision came as a shock to the Al Maktoum family. His mother wept, fearing the outside world would take her son away from her. His father, though reluctant, agreed, hoping that the knowledge Khaled gained would benefit the family's empire. On the day he left, Khaled stood by the window, taking one last look at the Al Maktoum mansion. He felt the worry in his mother's eyes, the unspoken disappointment in his father's gaze, and a touch of bittersweet hope in Safia's smile. "I will return, but not to live as the person you want me to be," Khaled thought as he stepped onto the plane. It was a moment when he felt freedom for the first time in his life, even though it came with the pain of separation. When Khaled stepped off the plane at New York's airport, he felt a profound change. No longer under the watchful eyes of his family or confined by the gilded walls of the Al Maktoum mansion, Khaled faced true freedom for the first time. No one knew who he was. No one cared about his family's reputation or status. Here Khaled was just a young student with nothing but his bare hands and a burning desire to build a new life. At first, this newfound freedom was both unfamiliar and challenging. Khaled had never needed to handle simple tasks like doing laundry, cooking, or managing his expenses. But instead of being annoyed, he embraced these tasks as part of his journey toward independence. He learned to find joy in simple things, like making a cup of coffee in the morning or preparing his own dinner after long hours of studying. In the classroom, Khaled quickly stood out for his diligence and sharp intellect. He made friends from all over the world, each bringing their own stories of life, family, and dreams. These friends gave Khaled a new perspective. Wealth isn't measured solely by money, but also by the diversity of experiences and the richness of spirit. He also started working part-time to cover his living expenses, something he had never imagined doing before. Working at a small coffee shop near campus, Khaled learned to value the dignity of labor and the importance of self-reliance. Day by day, he felt himself drifting further from the image of the pampered son in Dubai and closer to the man he had always dreamed of becoming. However, just when everything seemed to be going in the right direction, a devastating blow changed Khaled's life forever. During his final year of college, on a cold morning, Khaled received a phone call from his mother. Her voice trembled, almost breaking, as she informed him that Safia and her mother had died in a plane crash on their way to visit him. Khaled was stunned, as if his entire world had frozen. Memories of Safia flooded back, their laughter under the garden trees, her wistful smile the last time they said goodbye. He remembered the promise to return and build a life together, a dream both of them knew was impossible. And now she was gone forever. The loss not only brought Khaled immense grief, but also an overwhelming sense of guilt. He blamed himself for leaving his family, for not being there to protect those he loved. He thought that if he hadn't decided to leave, things might have turned out differently. In the days that followed, Khaled lived like a shadow of himself. He couldn't focus on his studies or work, and he lost all motivation to strive forward. At night, he wandered the streets of New York, feeling lost amidst the bustling crowds. He questioned whether his dream of freedom was worth the price he had paid. Instead of returning to Dubai to face his family and the painful reality, Khaled decided to stay in the United States. He didn't want to see his mother's sorrowful eyes or feel the heavy weight of his father's expectations. Instead, he buried himself in work. After graduating, Khaled quickly landed a job at a prestigious financial firm in New York. Khaled worked day and night, rejecting all invitations to parties or social gatherings with friends. To him, work was not only a way to forget his pain, but also a path to prove that he could stand on his own without his family's protection. He climbed the career ladder swiftly, becoming one of the youngest employees to be promoted within the company. But no matter how successful he became, the emptiness within him never faded. Khaled had it all: money, recognition, and the admiration of his colleagues. But he didn't feel happy. Loneliness clung to him, especially when he thought about his family and loved ones he had left behind in Dubai. Let's play a fun game. If you've read this far, type McDonald's in the comments to see who else has read this part. Years later, when Khaled had become a household name in the financial industry in New York, he received an urgent call from his mother. His father, Zayed, had fallen gravely ill and didn't have much time left. This time, Khaled couldn't avoid it. He knew he had to return, not just out of duty, but because a part of him longed to reconcile with his family and his past. He left New York with a heavy heart, unsure of what awaited him when he returned to the place he once called home. When Khaled walked into his father's hospital room, Zayed, though frail and weary, still retained his familiar dignity. His gaze at Khaled held both pride and disappointment. In a weak voice, he entrusted the family company to Khaled, emphasizing that it was not just an asset, but a responsibility for the entire lineage. "You're the only one who can carry on this legacy," he said, gripping Khaled's hand with unwavering trust. In that moment, Khaled felt the full weight of the responsibility placed upon him. He knew the freedom he once pursued would now take a back seat to his family's obligations. But deep within, he also felt something else. This might be his chance to rediscover the true meaning of his life. Returning to Dubai, Khaled stepped into the leadership of the oil empire his father had painstakingly built. This responsibility was anything but easy. Sleepless nights, high-stakes meetings, and critical decisions now dominated his life. Every passing day felt like being pulled deeper into an unending vortex. The company was a symbol of the Al Maktoum family, but to Khaled, it felt like a relentless series of soulless tasks. The employees looked at him with admiration, but also with caution. Dubai's society, renowned for its strictness and competitiveness, placed enormous expectations on his shoulders. Despite his professional success, Khaled realized he was losing a part of himself, the part that yearned for simple, genuine experiences. One late evening, as Khaled sat in his office finishing a report, the silence of the room only heightened the emptiness he felt inside. But it was also in that very moment that everything changed. The office door opened slightly and Noura, a young receptionist, stepped in. She carried a stack of documents, her face showing a mix of shyness and sincerity. "I'm sorry to disturb you so late, but these are the documents you urgently need for tomorrow's meeting," she said, her voice gentle yet confident. Khaled looked up, his eyes meeting Noura's sparkling green gaze. She was unlike anyone he had ever met before. Without the glamour or pretentiousness typical of the elite, Noura exuded a simple yet captivating charm. Her soft black hair framed her delicate face, and her warm smile seemed to dispel the coldness in the room. "Thank you." "Noura, right?" Khaled responded, trying to keep his tone steady, though his curiosity was evident. Noura nodded, offering a faint smile. "That's correct, sir. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." But Khaled, not wanting the conversation to end so soon, spoke up. "It's quite late. Are you still here working?" The unexpected question made Noura pause momentarily, but she quickly replied with a slight smile. "I always try to finish everything before heading home. I value my work." In that moment, Khaled felt as if he had found a small glimmer of light in his otherwise bleak life. After Noura left, he realized he no longer felt as drained as he had before. In the days that followed, Khaled frequently found excuses to visit the reception desk where Noura worked. He began with small questions about work, but gradually their conversations grew longer and deeper. Noura, with her wit and intelligence, didn't hesitate to share her thoughts, from daily anecdotes to her perspectives on life. Once, when Khaled asked her what she liked most about her job, Noura simply replied, "I enjoy meeting people, but what I truly value is the feeling of contributing, even in a small way, to something greater." Her answer left Khaled impressed. He realized Noura wasn't just a beautiful woman, but someone with a generous heart and profound compassion. Gradually, their interactions at the reception desk turned into longer conversations outside the office. Khaled invited Noura to dinner at a small seaside restaurant. Unlike the luxurious venues he was accustomed to, the place had a simple but cozy charm. Under the soft glow of the setting sun, they shared stories about their pasts and dreams yet to be fulfilled. One night, as the two strolled along the beach, Khaled gently took Noura's hand. She turned to look at him, her eyes filled with surprise but showing no objection. "Noura, you've made me feel something I had forgotten for so long. The feeling of truly being alive," Khaled said, his voice deep and sincere. Noura didn't respond with words, but the way she tightened her grip on his hand said it all. The moments that followed seemed to transcend reality as they let their emotions flow naturally. They embraced under the stars, a hug filled with warmth that Khaled had been missing for years. From that night on, their relationship progressed quickly. Khaled and Noura began spending more time together, from cozy dinners to short trips out of the city. But what made Khaled fall in love with Noura wasn't the grand romantic gestures. It was the way she appreciated life's simplest moments. Noura didn't need expensive gifts or extravagant parties. To her, a quiet morning, sipping coffee with Khaled, or an afternoon spent reading together was enough. One evening, after a long and exhausting day, Khaled invited Noura to his apartment for dinner. They sat on the sofa, laughing and enjoying wine together. The closeness between them became undeniable. In that moment, Khaled leaned in and kissed Noura, a kiss full of passion and sincerity. Even as their love deepened, Khaled knew their relationship wouldn't be easy. He feared his family's reaction, especially his mother, who always expected him to marry someone suitable for their social standing. But with each passing day, Khaled grew more certain that Noura was the one who brought true meaning to his life. They decided to keep their relationship a secret at first, to avoid societal gossip and family pressure. However, both of them knew that their love had become an irreplaceable part of each other's lives. It wasn't long before news of their relationship reached Khaled's family, particularly his mother Ranaya, who could not stay silent. For her, the idea of Khaled loving a woman outside their social class was unacceptable. She had always hoped Khaled would marry a woman from a prestigious family, someone worthy of the Al Maktoum name. Rania made no effort to hide her disapproval. As soon as Khaled returned home after a date with Noura, she was waiting for him in the living room. Her face was stern, her sharp gaze brimming with anger. "Khaled," she began, her tone cold, "I've heard you're dating a receptionist?" Khaled stood still, unable to conceal his frustration but striving to remain calm. "Noura is not just a receptionist, Mother. She's intelligent, kind-hearted, and she loves me for who I am, not for the family name or the wealth." But Khaled's words only fueled Rania's anger. "Loves you? Do you honestly believe she loves you without considering your status? The Al Maktoum family is not a place to bring in someone of unknown origins. Have you thought about the family's honor, about your responsibilities?" Khaled responded firmly, "I don't care about that prejudice. I love Noura, and she makes me happy in a way I've never felt in this life." Mrs. Rania's opposition didn't stop at arguments. She arranged meetings between Khaled and women from prestigious families, trying to persuade him to end his relationship with Noura. She even banned Noura from attending family events, insisting that she wasn't worthy of stepping into their world. Khaled's father, Mr. Zayed, though frail in health, also didn't fully support his son. "Khaled, your mother only wants the best for you. You should reconsider, for the good of the family," he said softly but clearly. One morning, as Noura arrived at the office, she received a call from Mrs. Rania's assistant. "Mrs. Rania wants to meet you." The voice on the other end was firm, leaving no room for refusal. Noura felt her heart tighten. She already knew about Khaled's mother's disapproval of their relationship, and this invitation felt more like a summons laden with pressure. That evening, Noura went to the Al Maktoum estate, a place she had never set foot in before. The opulent space, gilded walls, and priceless artwork only made her feel more out of place. A servant led her to the living room, where Mrs. Rania sat in a high-backed chair, exuding authority and coldness with every gesture. "Sit down," Mrs. Rania said, her voice gentle yet edged with sharpness. Noura felt an invisible weight pressing down on her, but she tried to stay composed. "Madam, it's an honor to meet you," she said, her gaze sincere but unwavering. After a few perfunctory pleasantries, Mrs. Rania got straight to the point. "I know you're seeing my son," she said, her piercing eyes locking onto Nora. "But you must understand that this relationship cannot continue." Nora felt her heart clench, but she kept her voice steady. "I understand your concerns for Khaled, but I love him, and all I want is for him to be happy." Mrs. Rania smirked, a half-mocking, half-pitying smile. "Do you think love is enough to keep a man like Khaled? You know nothing about the responsibilities he carries for our family. You don't belong, Nora, and deep down, you know that." Nora felt as if a knife had pierced her heart, but she couldn't allow herself to falter. "I don't care about Khaled's status or wealth, madam. I love him for who he is, not for the family name or fortune attached to him." "Love him for who he is?" Mrs. Rania raised an eyebrow, her tone colder than ever. "Do you think you understand my son better than I do? Khaled was raised to lead an empire, not to chase fleeting emotions. If you truly cared for his happiness, you'd stay away from him." Nora lowered her head, feeling every word like a dagger to her soul. "Madam, I understand that you only want the best for Khaled," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. "But I also believe that Khaled's happiness doesn't lie in living according to others' expectations. I love him, and I believe he loves me too." Mrs. Rania stood up, her imposing demeanor making the atmosphere even more stifling. "Don't be so naive, Nora. Love is not enough to withstand the pressures of this world. Do you think you can be Khaled's pillar when the whole society turns its back on him? You will drag him down, destroying everything this family has built. But if Khaled is willing to stand by my side, would you accept me?" Nora asked, her eyes brimming with hope. "Never," Mrs. Rania replied firmly. "I will do everything to protect my son from making the wrong choice. If you truly love him, let him go." Nora felt tears welling up but held them back. "Thank you for being honest with me. I'll think about this." Leaving the mansion, Nora felt as if she was carrying the weight of a mountain on her shoulders. She loved Khaled, but Mrs. Rania's words made her realize one thing. This battle wasn't just between her and his family, but also against societal prejudices that were beyond her control. That entire night, Nora couldn't sleep. She thought about Khaled, their love, and the promise she had made to always bring him happiness. But she also didn't want to be the reason he lost his family and reputation. Beyond the pressure from Khaled's family, Nora also felt the weight of expectations from Dubai's upper-class society. Every time she appeared beside Khaled, she faced scrutinizing gazes and malicious whispers. She knew their love wasn't easy, and sometimes she felt like a burden to Khaled. A few days later, when Khaled called her to plan their next date, Nora's voice was shaky yet resolute. "Khaled, I think we need to talk." "What's wrong, Nora?" Khaled asked, sensing the unusual tone in her voice. "I'm not sure I can continue this relationship. I love you, but maybe I don't belong in your world." "Nora, don't say that. I don't care about that world. I only care about you," Khaled protested. "But I care, Khaled. I care about what you'll have to sacrifice to be with me. And I can't let you do that," Nora said, tears streaming uncontrollably. Amid Khaled's painful silence, Nora ended the call. She knew she had just let go of the most important thing in her life, but she believed it was the right thing to protect him. If you love stories like this, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss more touching tales. Unable to lose the woman he loved, Khaled decided to see Nora. He arrived at her small apartment, holding a bouquet of white flowers, the kind he knew she loved. When she opened the door, Nora's face froze. Her eyes were red and puffy, clearly from crying for hours. "Khaled, you shouldn't be here," Nora said, trying to keep her voice calm. "We've already made things clear." "Nothing is clear, Nora," Khaled replied, his gaze unwavering. "Do you think I'll just let you go like this? Do you think I'm not strong enough to face everything for the sake of our love?" "It's not that I doubt you," Nora answered, her voice trembling. "But I don't want you to bear the pressure from your family, from society. I can't let you sacrifice everything for me." Khaled stepped forward and took her hand. "Listen to me, Nora. I don't care about those prejudices or pressures. The only thing I'm certain of is that I love you, and I won't let anyone, not even my mother, take that away from me. Noura lowered her head, tears streaming down her face. But I'm scared, Khaled. I'm afraid that one day you'll regret it. I don't want to be the reason you lose your family. Khaled gently lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. If I have to give up my family to keep you by my side, I'm willing to do that. But I don't believe our love has to come with sacrifices. I'll convince my mother, and we'll overcome everything. But first, I need you to trust me, to trust in our love. Khaled's words broke through the walls Noura had built around her heart. She clung to him tightly, tears flowing uncontrollably. I love you, Khaled. I've always loved you, but I don't want you to suffer because of me. We'll endure together. We'll overcome together, Khaled whispered. Love isn't about avoiding pain, but about growing stronger together. The two sat together, sharing their worries and hopes. Khaled promised he would do everything he could to make his family accept Noura, vowing not to let her face this battle alone. Though still anxious, Noura decided to trust in his love and stand by his side through all challenges. From now on, we're a team, Khaled said, his eyes filled with determination. No one can separate us unless we allow it to happen. Noura smiled through her tears. I believe in you, Khaled, and I promise I'll fight with you no matter how hard it gets. After their conversation, they began planning how to face the pressures from both family and society. Khaled decided to have an honest conversation with his mother. He knew convincing Mrs. Rania wouldn't be easy, but he believed his genuine love and unwavering resolve would eventually change her perspective. Meanwhile, Noura prepared herself mentally to face the judgmental stares of Dubai's elite society. She knew she would be scrutinized and judged, but she trusted that Khaled's love would be the driving force to help her overcome it all. The love between Khaled and Noura is now more than just a personal emotion. It has become a battle against societal prejudices and pressures. With unwavering commitment and faith in each other, they are ready to face the challenges ahead, determined to protect their unique bond. Their journey is not only one of love, but also of courage and steadfastness. After all the storms they have weathered, Khaled knows he cannot let time pass without affirming his love and commitment to Noura. One evening, under the gentle glow of the moon and the flickering light of candles, Khaled takes Noura to a seaside restaurant, a familiar spot for the two of them since the early days of their relationship. As dinner ends, Khaled pulls out Noura's chair, helping her to stand, and leads her to a quiet, secluded stretch of sand. There, in the center of a glowing circle of dozens of lanterns, he kneels down, holding a finely crafted engagement ring in his hand. Noura, he says, his deep, heartfelt voice steady, I have loved you from the very first moment. You have brought light and life into my world. I cannot imagine a future without you by my side. Will you marry me? Tears stream down Noura's cheeks as she nods softly. Yes, Khaled, I will. I love you. Khaled's smile shines as brightly as the sun. He slips the ring onto her finger before pulling her into a tight embrace and a lingering kiss. In that moment, their promise was not just between the two of them. It was a declaration that they were ready to face any challenge to protect their love. Khaled and Noura's wedding was a perfect blend of Dubai's grandeur and the simplicity that Noura cherished. The ceremony was held in a sprawling garden adorned with fountains and pure white flowers. Noura wore a simple yet elegant wedding dress, and Khaled couldn't take his eyes off her throughout the ceremony. However, the atmosphere of joy couldn't completely drown out the murmurs of the elite society. The guests, prestigious and powerful figures in Dubai's business world, whispered incessantly about the ordinary woman who had captured Khaled's heart. Behind polite smiles were scrutinizing gazes and malicious whispers. She's so lucky, one woman whispered to her companion. But does she have what it takes to stand in the Al Maktoum family? How could a receptionist possibly be worthy of Khaled? This must be some cosmic joke, another added. Noura, despite trying her best to ignore them, couldn't shake the weight of those words. She reminded herself that Khaled's love was what mattered most. But deep down, she couldn't help feeling like an outsider in this opulent world. Among the dissenters, Khaled's mother Rania was the most resolute. Although she attended the wedding to preserve the family's reputation, her cold demeanor toward Noura was unmistakable. When she stepped into the wedding, she only gave Noura a slight nod, without a single word of congratulations. Throughout the ceremony, she kept her distance, even refusing to participate in the family photo. To her, Noura could never truly be a part of the Al Maktoum family. Noura noticed Mrs. Rania's indifference and cold stares, but tried to remain calm. Every time Mrs. Rania spoke with Khaled, Noura would avoid them, unwilling to be the source of any conflict. "Khaled," she said during a private conversation, "you are destroying everything we've built. That girl does not belong in our world." "Mother," Khaled responded, his voice steady, "Noura is not just a part of my world. She is my entire world. If you can't accept her, that is something you need to face, not me." Although Khaled stood firm in defending Noura, he couldn't deny the wounds his mother's disapproval left in his heart. He loved his mother, the woman who had sacrificed so much to raise him into the man he was today. But his love for Noura was something he could never forsake. There were nights when Khaled sat alone in his study, wondering if he was being selfish by forcing his family to accept someone who didn't belong to their world. But every time he thought of Noura's trusting gaze, he reminded himself that true love was worth fighting for. Ignoring all the pressure and gossip, Khaled and Noura began their married life with simple joys. They decided to explore Dubai in their own way, not through lavish parties or expensive restaurants, but through small eateries in the local markets, hidden streets, and evenings spent talking under the stars. Khaled took time to teach Noura how to ride a camel, one of his childhood passions. They laughed together whenever Noura tumbled into the sand, but she never gave up. They also often strolled along the beach, where Khaled had first confessed his feelings for her. Noura, with her warmth and sweetness, made Khaled feel that all the pressures from the outside world no longer mattered. "I'm happy to have you," Khaled said one day as they watched the sunset, "and I'll do whatever it takes to protect this happiness." "I feel the same, Khaled," Noura replied, a smile on her lips. "As long as we're together, I believe we can overcome anything." Even though Khaled and Noura built a marriage full of love, they couldn't escape the incessant rumors from high society. At grand parties and events, whispers of malice often surfaced. "She still visits some place in the outskirts regularly? Isn't that strange? Do you think she's hiding some secret that Khaled doesn't know about?" At first, Khaled ignored those words, but gradually the whispers began to embed themselves in his mind. He started noticing that Noura often left the house in the afternoons, sometimes without explaining where she was going. One day, Khaled accidentally saw Noura's car parked in front of a small house in the suburbs. Curious, he wondered what she was doing there. Was she hiding something important? Torn by conflicting thoughts, Khaled decided to act. He disguised himself as a driver, wearing a hat to cover his face in a worker's uniform, and followed Noura when she left the house. Khaled quietly drove behind her, his heart pounding with worry, but also with the hope that it was all just a misunderstanding. However, he couldn't shake the fear that there might be something he didn't know. Noura drove through the bustling city streets and eventually turned into a quiet suburban area. She stopped her car in front of a small house with walls faded by time and a rusty iron gate. Khaled parked a short distance away, observing from afar. From inside the house, an elderly man stepped out. He leaned on a cane, his frail and thin figure appearing weak, but his eyes lit up warmly as he saw Noura. She walked over and gently embraced him, a smile spreading across her face. The two entered the house and Khaled continued to watch, his heart now in turmoil. Unable to suppress his curiosity, Khaled decided to get closer. Through a slightly open window, he saw Noura helping the old man sit down, pouring him water and tidying up. They spoke to each other, the man's voice weak but filled with affection. Through their conversation, Khaled realized that the elderly man was Noura's father. "I only want you to be happy, my daughter," the man said, his frail hand gripping Noura's. "I don't want to be a burden to you, nor do I want people to judge you because of me." Noura held her father's hand, tears streaming down her face. "You are the one who gave me everything I have. I will never let you feel like you don't belong in my life, but I'm afraid Khaled will feel uncomfortable." Hearing those words, Khaled felt his heart tighten. All his doubts, all the shadows in his mind disappeared. The truth was so simple, yet so profound. Noura wasn't hiding anything for her own gain. She was merely trying to protect her father from the prejudices and pressures she had faced. Without hesitation, Khaled knocked on the door of the house. When Noura opened the door, her eyes showed a mix of surprise and confusion. "Khaled, what are you doing here?" Khalid said nothing at first, looking directly at her before taking her hand. "I'm sorry, Nora," he said, his voice trembling. "I doubted you, let those rumors cloud my love and trust for you. But now I understand. I'm sorry for not believing in you." Nora responded, "I'm sorry too for keeping this from you. My father is a simple carpenter who worked tirelessly his whole life to raise me and give me an education. He asked me to keep his existence a secret because he feared his humble background would affect my happiness in the judgmental world of the Al Maktoum family. I never intended to deceive you." Khalid shook his head. "The one who should apologize is me. You did nothing wrong. I'm sorry for doubting you, and I'm sorry that because of your relationship with me, you had to hide such an important part of your life." Noura stood still, tears streaming down her face, as Khalid stepped forward and embraced her. "We promise that from now on we won't let anything, or anyone, hurt the trust between us," Khalid said. Noura nodded happily. "From now on, we'll face everything together." The elderly man approached, placing his trembling hand on Khalid's shoulder. "Son," he said in a warm, deep voice, "I know you worry for Noura, and that shows how deeply you love her. Thank you for coming here and listening to the truth." As the three of them sat down to talk, Noura held Khalid's hand, her eyes shining with joy. "There's one more thing I need to tell you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "I'm pregnant, Khalid." Khalid froze for a moment, overwhelmed by a surge of happiness. He burst into laughter, then pulled Noura into his arms, unable to hold back tears of joy. "We're going to have a family," he said, his voice choked with emotion. That night, as he left the small house with Noura, Khalid felt his heart overflowing with love and faith. He knew that no matter how many challenges lay ahead, he would never let go of the people he loved the most. The day baby Tariq was born marked a turning point in Khalid and Noura's lives. At the hospital, when the nurse gently placed the newborn in Khalid's arms, he looked at his son with an expression of disbelief. Tariq's tiny fingers wrapped tightly around Khalid's, and in that moment, Khalid felt a love stronger than anything he had ever known. "Tariq," Khalid whispered, "you are the hope of our lives, the most beautiful thing we've ever had." With Khalid's support, Noura went on to establish a charity foundation to help women in difficult circumstances, providing them with opportunities for education and employment. The foundation quickly became a beacon of hope, transforming the lives of hundreds through skill training programs, workshops, and scholarships. Success stories, like a single mother opening a bakery or a group of women starting a sustainable farming initiative, showcased Noura's vision and efforts. Nevertheless, the journey wasn't easy. She faced resource shortages and societal skepticism, but her faith and love carried her through. Khalid was always proud of Noura, calling her the flame of hope. Inspired by the foundation, the couple decided to embark on a bold project, building an exemplary city named Qarya al-Najah. Qarya al-Najah became a symbol of love, social harmony, and environmental protection, with buildings powered by renewable energy, schools fostering human values, and an inclusive community that transcended class distinctions. Khalid and Noura worked tirelessly with experts to bring their vision to life, despite opposition from investors and corporate leaders. Khalid declared, "We're not just building a city, we're building the future." After years of relentless effort, Qarya al-Najah emerged as a model of sustainable development, garnering global attention. It became a place where people found hope, from women who had once benefited from Noura's scholarships to families living in a green and equitable community. In their home at the heart of the city, Khalid and his family lived happily. Their son Tariq, now grown, was preparing to carry on his parents' legacy. Their daughter Layla, raised in a loving and compassionate environment, continued the spirit of Qarya al-Najah. One evening, as the sun set over the lush buildings, Khalid held Noura's hand and said, "We haven't just built a city, we've built a life to be proud of." Noura smiled, her eyes sparkling with faith. They knew the journey was far from over, but love and determination would always be the flame lighting their path. Qarya al-Najah was more than just a city, it was a living testament to the power of love and hope. As the sun dipped behind the green skyline, Khalid and Noura felt their hearts swell with happiness and fulfillment. They had not only found love, but had turned it into an inspiration to change the world. With Tariq, Layla, in the Qarya al-Najah community, they knew their legacy would live on, a flame guiding the way for future generations. If you love stories like this, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss other touching stories. Did you find this story meaningful? Please rate it from 1 to 10 in the comments below.